Welcome back. This is Richard, and I'm welcoming you back to the Innovation Best Practices episodes, every single one of which is designed to help you sell more and make more, regardless of the kind of business that you're in and what kind of customers you have. So welcome back. Good to have you here. If you'd like to listen to more ways of experiencing the Innovation Best Practices episodes, we have two ways right now. One is the VideoCast, which launched in 2016 on YouTube. And to find that, you just need to search any episode title, and it will come out at the top of the search list. You can also listen to the podcast at i2ge, that's the letter I, the number 2, ge.com/podcast, or at iTunes, you just search for Innovation Best Practices. There's also the free app for iPhone and iPad, and another one for Android devices at Google Play. So the VideoCast is free, the podcast is free, and the apps are free. Doesn't get much better. And I really love hearing from listeners, so if you want to contact me, my email address is richard@i2ge.com. I look forward to hearing from you. This episode is about innovation news and events from around the world. I have regular ways of searching the internet and looking for interesting news and events that I believe I can share with you and have them help you with what you're trying to do. So let's get into it. The first one is about innovation strategy. You see the author's name there, and a very interesting book title, Making Stone Soup, How to Jumpstart Innovation Teams. I guess there's imagination in book titles. And the author goes on to make the point that innovation is unlike normal everyday operation of a business. And that is so true. And unfortunately, too many business people feel that they can handle innovation because they can handle business operations. Quite frankly, the processes and the mindset that's necessary to be successful in innovation and operating a business can be significantly different. And if you take your business operation mind into an innovation meeting in the afternoon, it can really screw up innovation. And I've seen it happen time after time. The authors talk about three different ways that innovation and business operations differ. First, that innovation is about the future. You may say, yeah, that's true. But business operations are more about the now and the very short-term future, while innovation has a far longer time horizon. Innovation, on the other hand, is really not worried about people involved directly in innovation as their sole responsibility are not involved and concerned about day-to-day business operations, getting bills paid, dealing with pesky competitors, and all those sorts of things. So very different in that regard. Second is that there's what the authors call positive deviance, which relates to the degree of discontinuity created by innovation. Innovation really is about creating discontinuity, something different, while business operations like consistency in everything that they do. So the difference between wanting discontinuity, seeking discontinuity, versus wanting to have consistency, major difference. Third one is innovation happens horizontally across functions and expertise within an enterprise. Conversely, business operations tend more often than not to happen vertically, namely from a top down. There is definitely a horizontal aspect to it, and I'm not denying that in any way, shape, or manner for business operations to be successful. But innovation tends to be almost purely operating horizontally. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, innovation requires teams. There's many ways you can make them up, and I risk here oversimplifying, but most innovation teams are made up from people from other functions that are relevant to the success of the innovation team. For example, somebody from marketing, maybe from sales, research, R&D, and maybe other functions depending on the type of innovation that you're doing. And it's more a process that happens only horizontally across those functions as opposed to a vertical perspective on how innovation is handled. Again, a little bit of risk in oversimplifying all of this, but these are some general themes that vary significantly in innovation versus business operations. A second new study from a university industry innovation network talked a lot about user-driven innovation. And it's very interesting that people do this, talk about user-driven innovation, and it can have a number of meanings. In this particular article, I wasn't really aligned with the way they were thinking about it. I'll give you a couple of perspectives on how user-driven innovation can be. First is you do research of your users, and you get a research report back about what they like and dislike about you and your competitors, and potential opportunities for improvement and all of that sort of thing. And that can be very, very helpful in innovation. But in this particular article, they're talking about actually involving consumers in the innovation process. And as I've shared with you in one or two previous podcasts, this is a little bit of a tricky place to go. Customers want to help. If you ask customers, hey, would you like to participate in a group to make these products better? Oh, yeah, sign me up. But typically, what you get out of that, and I've done a lot of this, typically what you get in are fairly close, modest improvement suggestions. I mean, I've gone into some of these, and they go, that should be a lighter shade of green, and that would really make it more attractive. Yeah, not really what I'm looking for. Okay? On the other hand, there is a way, and I've been involved in this, and Rich Boone, who we did a podcast on earlier, we talked a little bit about this, that researchers know that there's a customer profile that can produce many more ideas than an average group of customers when you get that special profile into a focus group, for example. And there are processes that can be used to optimize this resource. I've actually seen this work rather well, but you need a skilled group facilitator, somebody like Rich Boone that we talked about before. So the net of this is customers can be helpful, but you need to be a bit careful because you're not going to necessarily get the really big ideas if you need really big ideas. Next, we're going to dive a bit deep into this Kashi versus Kellogg's. And this is really about the risks of acquisition and the way to, and this is actually a great story about how to acquire a company and then how not to acquire a company, all in the same situation. And some companies think that what they're acquiring when they buy another company are things like patents and products, when in truth, if they really, really will just stop and take a look, they're acquiring all of that, plus the culture with proven processes and systems that produced the results worthy of acquisition. You just can't have a focus on the final thing that you're acquiring, like patents and products. They got there a certain way, and you may assume that you can just have them change the way that they go about, change their culture and everything, and nothing will change. Now, au contraire. The authors say, although acquisition sometimes works extremely well, the results often fall short, very often fall short, quite frankly, because larger companies tend to force their systems, processes, and culture onto the organizations they acquire. You really need to really pay attention to that. The net effect, a loss of creativity, reduced speed to market, and weakened relationships with customers. Very, very real situation. They go on to say, once we get to be a company of a certain size and magnitude, everything in the company exists to preserve the status quo. It's an anathema to have innovation. Innovation means that you disrupt everything. It's unstable, non-productive. That's why you end up having a challenging time doing in-house innovation. Kellogg's. Well, when they first acquired Kashi, they let the acquired company operate independently for its first 8 years, and this worked out spectacularly. During this period of time, sales grew 42% to about $600 million. Then Kellogg's decided, let's bring them out of their California and bring them into the Kellogg's culture. And they decided to bring Kashi deeply into their systems and operating procedures. And within a very short period of time, they experienced double-digit revenue declines and a loss of many key employees. They changed formulas from the original pure organic, and this broke the bond with many of their customers. In other words, they came in and tried to make Kashi a baby Kellogg's. It didn't work out so well. So, here are some important lessons. You want to make sure that you fully understand and appreciate what you're acquiring. And the perspective you need to take on this is a far broader view of what you're acquiring than just what looks like final products, brands, products, patents, and those sorts of things. You can make big mistakes when you think it's only the parts that you see. The truth is that the acquired company's culture, with all of its capabilities, values, behaviors, and experiences, are what you are acquiring. You need to be careful with even tinkering with this. Okay, you do it at your own peril. Granted, there can be some aspects of an acquired company that everyone recognizes needs improvement. For example, let's say the computer systems in the acquired company are a couple of generations old and are not serving the company well, and the acquiring company has really cutting-edge servers and computers and all that, and systems and everything. And to a significant extent, that could be an easy help for the company being acquired. There are some watch-outs even here, but on the other hand, there can be some ways that the acquiring company can help the acquired company. But for the most part, changing company culture, capabilities, values, and behaviors is a slippery slope. Okay. I had a front row seat to this. I was doing consulting at White Wave Foods when Dean Foods, just after Dean Foods acquired them. White Wave has a number of brands, including the Silk soy milk brand and International Light coffee creamers. And the company's founder was Steve Demos, and he became the first president and CEO of the combined company from two brand operating divisions of Dean Foods that were in Texas, and they moved him up to Boulder, Colorado first, and then to an office in Broomfield, Colorado. And Steve Demos was the founder of Silk, a very forward thinker, a big thinker. I got to know Steve reasonably well. Very, very, very interesting guy. And he built the Silk brand into a great success with companies like Whole Foods. And when when the combined divisions, two from Texas, combined with the Silk business to create White Wave Foods, there were a number of changes, and a lot of Procter & Gamble people, for example, were brought in. And Procter & Gamble is used, and other from other companies, I'm not picking on Procter, have specific ways of working with customers and specific types of sales promotions and relationships and everything that were very different than what Steve Demos was used to and the success that he'd had. And for a while, this really messed up things with their most important customer for Silk, which was Whole Foods. It was a very rocky period of time. And as I said, in my consulting work there, I had a front row seat to this drama. Okay, moving on to another story. Holly Gilman at the Huffington Post talked about, anytime I see innovation in government and the same thing, I go, huh? What are you doing? And she talks about what government policymakers can do about civic innovation. And she says, it isn't easy to innovate in governance. Now, there's an understatement. Bureaucracy can be hidebound. Now, there's a statement that deserves an exclamation point. The private sector's lean startup model with its fail-forward ethos is antithetical to government as we know it. They don't want to fail. Electorates are not tolerant of failure, and voter confidence in government is at an all-time low. You can put an exclamation mark after that. Her advice is threefold to governments. Don't reinvent the wheel, which means don't try to create dramatic improvements, and you'll get basically modest improvements by doing that. 2, have hybrid innovation, partnerships between public and private collaboration. And thirdly, collaborate, don't compete. And she's really talking about here about open source and benefiting from the innovation of others. For example, one governing body looking at something that's working in another governing body and adopting it to their particular unique needs. Step back from all of this and says innovation at best is going to be rather modest in government. Now, that's no surprise. Moving on to a North Carolina State University report on where does innovation happen best. And a quote from that story says, "Innovation thrives when people, organizations, and cultures come together and mix things up." I love that. Mix things up. Often in the context of supportive policies and programs. Thriving centers of innovation take different forms. You're exactly right. Most feature a critical density of ideas, people, and resources. Really like that. Proximity tends to correlate positively to enhanced innovation capacity. Strongly agree. But the interplay of physical location, virtual connections, and innovation is complex. And again, very, very well said, and kind of addresses from a somewhat big picture view what you need for innovation to thrive in this kind of situation. Here's some of the most helpful points that I think you can take from this news review. If your business is acquiring another company, always look broadly and define what you're acquiring in the broadest possible terms. It's not just a series of product brands and services. It's culture, it's processes, it's systems, it's attitude. And the second point I'll really point out here is in your innovation program, consider an appropriate time to target customer involvement. And I believe the best places for this involvement is after you already have what you believe is a big idea with a dramatic difference. As you develop prototypes, consider inviting a carefully screened group of customers into the process after you already have had a couple of rounds of prototype development. Customers can be most helpful and at their best when they have something specific to play with and make improvements. So, if you want to learn more about innovation in a wide variety of ways, all you need to do is go to the resource-rich website, i2ge.com. Suggest you click on the menu bar on DIY, Do-It-Yourself Innovation Training. You'll find a whole bunch of innovation training programs there that are intended to make you self-sufficient, not needing to hire expensive consultants like me, so that you can be self-sufficient and with your own innovation program. Another resource is I've published 6 books. One of them is titled Proven Practical Innovation That Delivers Results. And it's available on Amazon as a Kindle book and as a paperback and is priced at below break-even pricing, so it's a great value. I really love hearing suggestions and comments and requests from listeners, so please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any of those or other things you want to communicate to me about, and you just email me at richard@i2ge.com. In the next episode, we have a very interesting case study. It's about Intuit, which are the TurboTax and Quicken Books folks, among other things. Very successful company. And we're going to be talking about their internal innovation success. As you know, I'm usually a fan of combining internal and external resources, but this is a good example of how you can be successful with internal resources. And you're going to learn about a new role within a company, a group of people called Innovation Catalysts. So I think there's something here that can benefit virtually every listener, so please make sure that you tune in for this. And as always, I'm deeply, deeply appreciative of you taking time out of your day to be with me. I look forward to reconnecting with you soon. And until then, please have a great day.